Okay,
All right, it's been 9:10. We will bring the Facilities and Property Management Committee to order with the approval of minutes of the October 25th, 2023 Facility and Property Management Committee.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Moving on to correspondence shared by committee members. Anybody have anything? All right, hearing none, we will move on to public input on agenda items, and we'll go if Supervisor Binder has anything.
I do. I just like to comment on two conference rooms for Paul Delap and John Schneider. I know they were both dedicated highway department employees. John Schneider worked for the highway department for 43.5 years. And when I started there, he would take people under his wing and he'd teach you how to run a Oshkosh truck. I mean, I never ran an Oshkosh truck in my life. That's that big V plow and with the wings for shouldering. You know, he was the type of employee that wanted people to know how to operate the equipment properly. The supervisors always had him basically take new grader operators out to show them how to basically shoulder a road. He ran the paver for over 30 years. His dad worked for the highway department for, I would guess to say he was the road supervisor, so I would assume at least 30 years. So the family probably worked for Winnebago County Highway Department for over 70 years. I don't think naming a conference room after the John Schneider would be, you know, unreasonable. We named basically the stuff after the county board supervisors, the county execs. Why wouldn't we do something for an employee to show them that we do value them just like we value a good county board supervisor or a good county executive? We name a building after them. I'm not asking for a building. I'm asking for a conference room, a little plaque on the door that says the John Schneider conference room instead of the 103 conference room. And the other one is Paul Delap. I mean, the highway commissioner was there last month at the county board meeting, and you heard him talk about Paul and how good of an employee he was. And his life was taken short by a girl that was like 17 years old that ran a stop sign and killed him and his wife. I think just showing a little bit of recognition for him. And there's two conference rooms there, so you could name one after John and one after Paul. And it lets employees know that we do appreciate them, that, you know, the work that they do doesn't go unnoticed. So I would just like to see us pass this so that we can take it to the county board and move that forward.
Thank you. And anybody on Zoom? Brian, do you have anything?
Yes. Are you able to hear me? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I just wanted to speak a little bit about the Tri-County Ice Arena. I know that that's on your agenda, and that's I think that's probably the first discussion item on there. I think probably, in my opinion, the next course of action to take with the Tri-County Ice Arena is just simply to bring in Appleton Ice and to the committee and have them discuss what they plan to do. I think that we just need to be fair and make sure that they have the ability to actually talk about what their intentions are. You can see in the lease that of the Tri-County Ice Arena that they were actually supposed to be every year at around June. They were supposed to make presentations to the county board of various capital improvements. And of course, you know, we've kind of dropped the ball on that, and admittedly, that's the county's fault. And I think just to make this path correct, to right the ship, we just need to bring in Appleton Ice and have them talk a little bit about what they plan to do with the Appleton Ice Arena and what they plan to do if they have any intentions. When the lease expires and they now have full control, what they intend to do with it. So we at least have a better idea of what their intentions are, and that we're a little bit more clear of you know, what they want to do going forward, so that we can still have a place to play hockey in Winnebago County. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. And nobody else is on Zoom?
Nope.
All right, well, we'll close that item of the agenda and move on to discussion and possible action on the Tri-County Ice Arena. Mike, did you have any updates from Mary Ann or anything that you wanted to add to the?
I'm going to echo Mr. Defferty's suggestion, and I'm trying to reach out to Appleton Ice to have them come in and make a presentation on what their future plans are with it, and trying to, if, I don't know if, Mr. Deffering can hear me, if you can refresh my memory on what the deficiencies are that we would like them to speak about is, what I'm trying to get in touch with them for. And I was hoping that we could maybe get them here for the December meeting. And then possibly sometime in the new year for the county board.
I think it wasn't it mentioned, Mike, that they did do
The parking lot,
parking lot?
some of it, yes.
They
And
updated,
then they literally closed the kitchen area and stuff like that. So that's not being used at all, correct?
To the best of my knowledge, correct.
the other thing that has to be talked about is the ADA compliance. As Supervisor Depperting has stated that what he has seen is that the building is an ADA compliant, also that the concession area is not being used. And so those are two things I know for sure. Talking with Supervisor Depperting, that are areas that we need to address. And other than the building seems to be kind of in shambles and they haven't updated anything. And it's a sight for sore eyes. So
Wasn't it the roofing also?
Yes. No, they had some pictures of the interior.
Yeah.
But it's just the fabric covering of the insulation is.
Yeah. If you go to the Y on 20th, this walls hit that insulation and it's ripped out.
Okay.
We can, yeah,
It's okay.
we don't
To the
know.
best of my knowledge, yeah, I haven't been up there.
Supervisor Wise?
Yes, if you look at the terms on the lease agreement, it would be on item number 4, C as in Charlie. It says, on page 2, the facility shall be maintained by leasee so as to meet all state, local, and federal building safety and other codes required for public building use, meeting or convention facility. So it's right in there.
And then,
Yep,
and then
Supervisor Swan.
in E on number 4, it says failure to meet the terms and cure any violations shall constitute ground for termination of this agreement. Okay, so it's, we give them a lease for 20 years for $1, but in doing so, we're making the assumption they're gonna maintain this property. And we can terminate the lease deal.
Yeah.
All right.
Right,
I just,
Egan?
have a question for all of you here. When this was made, what are you gonna do with an ice rink if they don't keep it up?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
We want
Well, not only that, but I mean, who are we gonna get to take care of it?
You know? They were one of the only ones that come in that said they would do this, and so. I agree, that should be looked at, we should talk to them, but I think we wanna be. Somewhat work both ways.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish
But
for.
because when,
Be careful what you wish for.
right,
Exactly
right. Because when they originally started this lease, those people are non-existent now. Is that not correct? So we're,
To the best of my knowledge, most of the board members that were part of the original negotiations have moved on.
right,
You still plow the driveway? It says that you're supposed to.
I don't know.
Can you
I'll check with highways.
write that down for Supervisor Swan?
it's pretty clear under 6 too, that you know, all maintenance and repair capital improvements shall be the responsibility of lessee. Lessee shall be responsible for prompt, diligent maintenance, repair, replacement of structures and systems, you know, roof, refrigeration, utility, servicing of buildings, skating boards and plexiglass, parking lot.
Okay.
Pretty much laid out in this lease that, you know, we were responsible for plowing, it says here.
Yeah.
So. Just wanted to bring that out of the document. But I have another thing here, Mike, wasn't that, what was the organization across the street?
The Y.
The Y that was interested in that building?
Correct, that's,
So there is another option here.
Well, that's Supervisor Depperty had referenced that when he did he was in a few months ago. that would be something that I think we could ask them under future plans. Our leases with Appleton Ice till 2029. So, you know, we ask them direct, are they planning on fulfilling that to 2029? And, you know, or are they interested in getting out of that? You know, or we have to reach out to somebody from the YMCA and, you know, those things, I guess we're gonna have to flush out.
Right, I agree. Because I think that's a definite option if it does not work out with Appleton Ice.
Supervisor Wise?
What the Tom was bringing up, we don't want it back.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
Go right now.
Exactly.
There.
You know, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, Supervisor.
I'll move that we lay this on the table till next month after we, and also invite the Tri-County Ice Arena to come in and give us a presentation at that time.
Next week in January.
Yeah,
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to lay this on the table till our December meeting. Whenever they can make it. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, thank you. Moving on to discussion and possible action on veterans housing in Winnebago County.
I don't have anything.
Well,
I know Supervisor Robinson had,
well, I would, you know, we gotta try to figure out some kind of, where the money's gonna come from for one thing, because I know like Allegheny County and, also Brown County both have, veteran facilities, for the homeless. And we do not. Winnebago County is kind of behind time. But they get funding from several different organizations. Does anybody know where they get any funding from?
Allegheny and Brown.
Allegheny and Brown both get funding from different sources. And, you know, to help. Because obviously if we open something up like that, you're gonna have operating expenses and so forth and building expenses, but it is happening. As a matter of fact, if you go and see the facilities that they have up there, man, they're nice. And it's very well run and, you know, I know the one up in Brown County, that one was just relatively new within the last year and a half or so. But, and there's no reason that we can't at least look into this and see if we can come up with some sort of plan to get this moving and in Winnebago County.
Supervisor Wise.
Is this something that would be done by the board or by us first or the board, or is it something with the Veterans Association, our director of Veterans Affairs would do it to start it?
Well, that's a good
He
question.
probably has.
Because, you know,
Around
actually, that's a good question because John Damo has already said that he's looking into something like this. And so maybe we could have, what's his name? Jeff come in and talk to us and then also John Damo and see what their plans are. Because if we have at least an idea of where we can get some funding from to support this. Because, you know, let's face it, the times have changed. You know, at one time, you know, the Vietnam veteran was not recognized because of the bad war that they were at. So, you know, but now times have changed. So I think that this is very possible that we can, and there is buildings available, you know, that you can, you know, make into a veteran housing.
You have something
Yeah,
next?
follow up on that. My only concern is that all of a sudden, that by bringing in the director of veterans and John Damo and, you know, we'll start going, it's gonna be April, May before anything gets done and we're gonna be in a new session here. So I think the sooner if somebody just pick up the phone and call.
The Allegheny and Brown County facilities, were they built new from scratch, or were they existing facilities that were purchased and rehabilitated?
I don't know about the one in the, out of Gaming County, but the one up in Green, the last one they built was a brand new one.
Okay.
But, you know, where did they get the funding from?
Well-
Because obviously,
There's always problems if you acquire an older building and have to, gut it and rehabilitate it. It's hard to pin down what the actual costs are gonna be of the rehab and, things like that, and then also
right,
functional issues with older buildings, so, we have to do that, the department would have to determine which route they wanna go. Do they wanna buy an existing building, try to do that? Or build new, or look at both?
well, I'll give you an example. Wasn't that school over there on, what was that, Dale School? I was changed into apartments.
Yeah,
And it's actually pretty damn nice apartment.
yeah, there's developers that do it. It's just,
It's just, you know, cost effective. But we have to look into this thing and see where the drawing line is, because I think John Damo and, I'll talk to Jeff and get on the phone with them and find out what's cooking.
Thank you. Just before I go to Mike, that was gonna be my ask of you, if you would reach out to Jeff and the county executive and maybe give us a little report next month on this.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Yeah, Mike,
What I can tell you is the one in Allegheny County, I believe they bought an old apartment complex and have been refurbishing it.
Right, right. That's correct. That one there is right by the VA in Appleton. It's a very, very nice complex. I've been up there. I took a tour of some of the buildings, and then they have like a clubhouse thing, it's very nice.
is it single story or two story? Cause with the.
Well, they have disabled ones and they have non-disabled.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it'd be important to.
You have to have disabled ones that.
Right.
It might be worthwhile, once we get this all going, to talk to predecessor, Shiloh Ramos. I mean, he worked with the veterans, he's a doctor for the veterans and all that, so.
Oh, really?
That could be throwing a lot of advice in on this too.
That's a good idea.
anybody else? Good ideas here. Moving on to discussion and action on naming the highway department conference room after Paul DeLapp and John Schneider. Tom,
My question is, how does the highway department feel about it? Are they on board with doing that? Are they, are they in favor of naming the two rooms after these two gentlemen?
I talked to Bob Damo and he was like,
He's the director. As far as I don't think it was ever brought to them. I'm sure that they're in favor of it.
Okay.
It was never brought to them.
Just want to make sure.
Right. So I don't foresee any
Now,
problem with
based
it.
on Mr. Damo standing up at the last meeting, I would assume that's the case, but I just wanted to.
Mr. Gamble don't come to our meetings and speak to us.
Well, he did step up in the public.
He spoke up to the public, but if you ask about the committee didn't take any vote or any
Right.
action, which I'm surprised that they didn't get in on this and wasn't talked to about that, so.
Good.
But I am just speaking for myself, I don't foresee any reason why they wouldn't, but
Okay.
there was no action taken.
yeah, I guess, if this does pass our committee, then there's no reason why it couldn't go to the highway committee and.
Well, according to the policy that you guys passed, it should originate in the highways department.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I have talked to Bob Damo, they have not brought it up. I think that they're probably going to bring it up out there, so they should probably, if you're gonna follow your policy, you should probably have it originate in highways, someone should go to highways and make that suggestion, or the highway director himself, and then have highways vote on it, and then have it come to you guys. And then go to the board.
My only thing I'd like to say on this, I don't know, I was just looking at this and should it say conference rooms or should it be like a lunchroom in a conference room?
I guess I would say that, there's, like Supervisor Bender had stated, there's two conference rooms out there. So, I mean, I think, as Mike put it, we probably, put this on the agenda for next month and
Right.
from the highways.
Let them speak with first.
Takes us up, yeah.
So do we have to get a hold of the? or
I'll
we
just talk to
do-
Bob and tell him, you
Talk
know,
about
this is out there and it needs to originate in the highways department and with the highway commission to see what route they want to name and how they want to honor these individuals.
Yeah, we'll talk to the chairman, Mr. Albrecht, to make sure it gets on the agenda. Or to tell him to put it on the agenda now, whether he puts it on. So,
Supervisor Egan brought up a good point, if we get a new highway department at some point, a building, then, you know, maybe something will need to be a resolution or wrote up that's saying that 2 conference rooms will be named after Paul DeLapp and John Schneider moving forward. So, but again, we'll have to see what happens when it goes to highways. Anybody else on this? All right, moving forward, discussion and action of a county appraisal policy.
I started writing the resolution, and given the fact that we're talking about a veterans administration housing facility, I need to prioritize this and get it wrapped up, get you something for the next meeting. That's my goal here. I don't have it complete yet. So this would have to be written by me and then reviewed by legal. And then it would come to the committee meeting. Yeah, you have to do these. It's the first time I've written one of these, so.
Mary Ann's really good about this.
Okay, so I'm on it.
Okay.
Started writing.
And our year, he's very good. The
Okay,
sooner you can get her into it,
okay,
then
I'll-
they have resources that are just unbelievable.
okay, I'm on it. My goal here would be to have you something to review for the next one.
Thank you, Supervisor Swan. Anybody else on the county appraisal policy? Moving on to discussion of responsible bidders, contractors, and county role. Mike?
We've been meeting monthly at the public works type departments to work on this. I know I've got Bob Dable on board really well. I think John Raby's on board really well. I think Jim Shell's on board. But we still have like Parks, still does public works types. So I've got to get, we had Adam in there for a little bit and we talked about, but Andy had gotten me this form. We were starting to try and use this form for keeping track of the contractors, so that we have a written record of their deficiencies or anything. I've got IS is going to work on, or Alyssa's going to try and work on making this a fillable form so that the blanks are just something that we can call up off of the internet or the intranet and fill it out and then save it to a shared directory. We are revising our contractor certification form, and the state has people, if they want to bid jobs, they have to, it's called a contractor certification application. It's good for about a year and it asks for all sorts of information about them. I don't know if we haven't crossed the bridge whether we're going to have people do one application for a year or if we're just going to have them fill this out every time they do a job, because things can change within a year. And if we just go based on what a previous application said, it may not bear fruit with what they're actually doing right then and there. So we're working on modifying our contractor qualification statement to have this. And what I have found is, and I probably need some guidance from you guys because it falls in the policy area. But once we get this all done, we're gonna have to draft a policy that you guys will have to pass. It'll go to the county board and then become applicable to all of the county departments to follow. But I've talked a couple times about there's an EMR rating, and general services for the federal government uses the EMR rating to qualify or disqualify contractors. And the EMR ratio or rating is a rating that you get from, is it OSHA or the state, in our case, because we don't use OSHA.
It goes from the workman's comp.
It's workman's comp. It's how much you use workman's comp, how many injuries you've had, and basically, if you go back to, and I'm trying to find out more information from, the federal government, but they have say if you have an EMR rating of 0.7 or below, that's a superior contractor. If you have a rating of 0.7 to 1, it's acceptable, and if you go over 1, you're considered substandard. And some of the other information I've gotten from them is that they don't necessarily disqualify somebody if they have a 1.1, but if they get up to a 1.25, then they basically put right on their qualification statement, if you have an EMR rating above 1.25, you're not considered qualified to bid on county projects. So I don't know where any of our contractors lie on it, because we've never asked for their EMR rating, but I'm going to put that into the contractor qualification statement. But then I gotta talk with our administrative side and with you to decide, do we say if you have an EMR rating of 1.25 or greater, you're disqualified from bidding on jobs? Or 1.1, it depends. I gotta talk to Joel Lukey down there to see if we can get some kind of information. If there's something that's publicly attainable without having to ask for contractors about it all. Because like if I call up Bolt and ask for their EMR rating or Myron, and I don't talk to everybody and we set something up with that, I don't want to give the impression that we're playing favorites with somebody, that we talk to Bolt, and if they have an EMR rating of 1.1, that, we adjusted our stuff to make sure that Bolt would be acceptable to bid on the jobs. But the idea is, the higher the EMR rating, the more careless you are on the job. If you're more careless with your safety, then you're probably careless with the way you do your work and the quality of your work. And that's something that's a quantifiable thing that we can use to disqualify somebody.
I would say a lot of contractors put that right on their website.
Or they do.
Well, yeah, I'll show, yeah, and whatever resources you need from me
Okay.
or research you need from me, let me know, and I'm more than willing to help you out. But yeah, if you have a good safety rating, you want to let people know that. And then this EMR rating, the lower it is, the less workman's comp that you pay. Right, so that's why companies that reinvest in their employees and train them and stuff like that, then it costs them less money to do business because they're paying a lot less money in workman's comp. So, and
Right.
but just another question for you. You had mentioned that, we don't need to do anything at this level because you guys are going to handle this in the recodification part. It's not doesn't sound like that's.
I don't know.
Because we had those 3 different ordinances that we passed around and looked at and stuff like that. You said, no, hold that. We're not going to do that. We don't want to do that.
Recodification is a different issue.
Okay.
It's supposed to be done by the end of this year for the board to vote on, and I haven't even seen the.
I don't think it will. I don't think it will be.
I can say that.
But
So,
correct me if I'm wrong. That's what you were telling
that's
us.
what we were looking at. I don't know which way is gonna be the best or fastest way for us to get this implemented. So, if it is, if it's a policy or an ordinance, it's still something that's gotta come from
Sure.
you and through the county board to be approved.
Supervisor Wise.
Do we have an EMR rating for Winnebago County?
I'm sure we do,
Oh,
because we have to pay workman's comp. I'd hate to see what ours is, because if I hold a contractor to something
Right.
that's more strict than ours.
Yeah, you're doing it yourself when you.
But, we have certain jobs that are, much more likely for people to get injured. The nursing home, I believe Parkview is one of our leading injury people, and mostly backs that get hurt. Sheriff's Department, is in a lot of situations where they get injured on the job, and the Highway Department is another big injury group. We're not too far behind, but, so that can kind of skew what our EMR rating would be. Because, if I'm a carpenter, I'm not dealing with unhappy inmates. So, I can ask Joel what our EMR rating is, just curious. But that's where I am right now. So, and then I gotta run all this through corporate counsel to make sure that what I'm doing is not something, illegal, but from what I can see with the federal government, and from, the city of Appleton, I think we're on the right path. I just gotta get it moving forward, and we're taking baby steps.
Does it go to corporation council and then to the fourth floor, or is that where it has to stop?
I don't know.
Wondering.
This is operations of the county, so I'm sure it's gotta go to the fourth floor. But I'm pretty sure he would be in support of it. He wants us to make sure that we have, qualified people working on the jobs. And the thing is, with always having to take the lowest bidder, it's always the race to the bottom. Whoever can do it the cheapest seems to be who gets the job. And, when you get the lowest bidder people, they're gonna find a way to get their prices the lowest, which means that, potentially suppliers they're not high enough on the suppliers list or what have you. But that affects the whole process.
Anybody else on this? Hearing none, moving on to the discussion on the Oshkosh Human Resources Building Elevator Controls Modernization.
It's all done.
It's done and they are running. I've been on it.
Okay, no further discussion, moving on. Yes, discussion of building assessment study.
I have used that as the basis for what our capital projects are. I know I'm working with the county executive we're trying to come up with a strategic plan now for what our buildings are. The next step is probably going to be looking at a space utilization study that is going to come back and take a look at how well utilized our buildings are. The condition assessment tells us what buildings are in good shape. And I was just at our capital planning meeting yesterday, and the one thing that the condition assessment kind of came out is, with the number of buildings that we've got, we're in not too bad shape with all the buildings. But we're gonna need to find out, and some of this with the space needs assessment is, we as an organization are really gonna have to take a hard look at how we're going to be doing our operations. If that means, departments are gonna have to take a look at, with COVID, we had people work from home. And now there's a big move to get everybody back in the office, but are there some functions that we can have people have a hybrid schedule where we just need to have a spot in a building where they can come in once or twice a week and do what they have to do in the office, but then they're at home. And if that's the case, then, we have an office that would be utilized by 3 people instead of one office utilized by 1 person. And that could, in effect, to take it to the extremes, that could cut the space that the department needs by 1/3, I should say by 2/3. So that would be, what do we have and how well are we using it? And maybe it's time that we divest ourselves of some of the buildings. And there are some buildings in the facility condition assessment that, I think I told you, there's 3 of them that were identified that are past the point of when we need to replace them. One was the airport building, a hangar out at the airports, and a parks workshop. The next ones that are down there is like the solid waste transfer station, which was never really built as a transfer station. It was built as a recycling building and resource recovery building. So, that one is on the cusp of it. MENA Human Services is on the cusp of it. I can't remember all of them right now. But we do have some, like the courthouse is further down the road, but we have some significant repairs that we have to look at in the near future. The boilers are 60-some years old. We got to replace the boilers. I got a price to replace the boilers with the same type of boilers, but that doesn't really solve the problem that we've got with the courthouse, because we still have numerous, separate air conditioning systems that are on, some of them I think are still on, R22. And the whole building's not air conditioned. So, you know, if you want to take a look at the holistic picture, you know, rather than replacing 3 boilers, for like maybe $750,000, we may have to replace the boilers, the air handling systems, and the air conditioning, which would potentially be, you know, several $1 million. Then we have to take a look at what is the future of that building going to be? You know, and maybe we start looking at different ways that we operate with staffing, with the buildings and the upcoming repairs. So it's, you know, this is probably gonna be a multi-year thing where we finally come to an understanding of what we have with our buildings, and it may be time, you know, and God, I'm a taxpayer too, but it may be time that we say, you know, we need to get the county into the 23rd century, and I've skipped a century, and you know, look out 40, 50 years down the road and say, you know, this is where we really need to concentrate on what we need to do. And having, you know, at part of our meeting yesterday, we talked about, I probably lose a man day a day. So 5 man days a week for my people traveling all over the county to do work. And, you know, if you take a look at that, I have to hire an extra person just to cover for the gaps of traveling around the county. And I think I've talked to you before, I lived in Virginia Beach and they had a municipal campus. You know, is it time that we start looking at something like that? Because, you know, if you look at Nina Human Services, parking has been an issue since I've been here up there. We're renting parking spaces and things like that. So we found out where we are with the baseline of the buildings, which are the good buildings. We know what buildings have some significant stuff coming forward. Now we have to take a look at how we operate the county and see if there's not some way that we can consolidate, change how we operate, maybe do something different, and try and save funding that way. So that's where I'm at there.
I got a question for you, Mike. So didn't you have a diagram last month of the buildings that were?
Yeah,
let's say,
Yeah.
We did have that last month, so those are the same buildings, and what are we gonna do with them?
right.
Do we have a plan yet for them or?
Not yet. There's a lot of different options that we can look at. I've just been basically trying to go through the suggested repairs that we have with the condition assessment to get the ones that seem to make sense to get into the capital plan. You know, the assessment said that the boilers at the courthouse should be replaced. We're 31 years past the end of the lifespan on those boilers. So, but it doesn't make sense to me to put replacing 3 boilers in the capital plan if part of the whole process to fix the problem at the courthouse is the air handler, the boilers, and the air conditioning. And then, you know, it goes from $750,000, like I said, to $4 million. So I'm trying not to choke on the elephant. There's a lot going on. So when you see the capital plan, what you're gonna see is the repairs that we think we have to do in order to maintain the buildings. And then some of the things that were showing up in the report are being deferred because it's probably not prudent to just jump in blindly and say, okay, we gotta replace this, because they say we gotta take a look at like the new Human Services building. We continually have parking problems. It doesn't work for veterans. It works for Human Services because they have the majority of the building. public health says that it doesn't really work for them. So, you know, if we're going to have to purchase land for more parking or go into long-term agreements for additional parking, and do a significant remodel to the building, maybe we need to look at saying, well, that building was a bad deal from the start. We need to look at different options. And I don't have those options for you. This is all hypothetical. I've just gotten to the point where these are the repairs we gotta do right now. I gotta have some time to talk to my boss and fill him in on what I think maybe we should do, what his goals are for the future. And then we gotta come to you guys and tell you, here's our strategic plan. It's kind of like, you know, Parks has done a strategic plan, I think, for the community park and has come up with projects. I've got to do the same thing for you guys. And I'm trying to work on that. Got the first step done. Now the next step is trying to figure out what our utilization is on the buildings and what would be the best use of the buildings that we've got.
And Mike McKinstry will be coming into the full county board. We're gonna try to get him in.
We're working on that. I know it looks like January might not work for that because of the capital plans that for presentations. So I'm trying to figure out when I can get them into you guys.
I'm just laughing because I know when we were told it was going to be in now.
We're going, I mean, just gonna speak out loud here. I mean, we're talking about the capital improvement plans. It would be really prudent to talk about the assessment of the buildings and where we're at with that. Maybe even, you know, maybe we could do one before and then say, hey, this is the conditions of the building. I guess I will relay that. I'll just bring up, well, you don't have anything to do with it anymore?
Not very much when it comes to him. I don't have anything to do with that part. Unless they want to draw it in, then I just have the yes or no on the agenda.
I will bring up what one of our former colleagues, Bill Wingren, would always bring up at this, or not always, but he talked about the Huber building a lot. And so we have to be conscientious about, you know, you mentioned the courthouse, you know, boy, what a dirty rotten shame to even think about moving on from the courthouse after we just spent, you know, $2.1 million on the windows and stuff like that. And so I think whatever, I hope it's not one person making the decision on what the future of the county looks like and what buildings are going to be.
I don't think so.
Taken down, but yeah, even the Warren King building, how much money we just spent on remodeling that and stuff like that. So I hope that we have some input on what this looks like for the county in the future.
I can just bring up a little bit though, as far as that courthouse, I was talking years ago, they wanted to more or less build it when they built the jail out there, that they were gonna build it out there and make it center, you know, not to go into it, but let's talk about building that out there at that time.
Well, so where I'm at is I got the first bite. I've got the major repairs I gotta get going. Now I have to do it. And I will see when I can get before the county board with McKinstry and everything. I had McKinstry lined up for like the special orders in January. I don't know if I can pull that off.
Okay. Anybody else? Moving on to the discussion of 980 housing project.
We had a little slowdown with the city. We designed it and they approved it as having a crawl space, and now they said it was a basement, so we've had to go and put sump pumps in. So that slowed us down a little bit. The trusses are still a problem for us to get on site. So we don't want to put the walls up and have them unsupported with the roof and everything like that. So we are looking at probably the end of January to be done with it rather than the end of December. But we do have one individual coming out, and the plan for him has been approved to put him in the vacancy in the trailer. So we have a little bit of breathing room.
And that's 3 of them that are being built?
Yes.
Tom?
I have a question on these trusts that I hear about all the time. Are they a special trust? I mean, I see how.
I don't think so.
Buildings going up, and matter of fact, there's a garage going up. They're putting the trust up today when I come over. I can't figure out what's the holdup on these trusts that we.
I don't know, and I haven't gotten an answer from the contractor, but this is one of the ones where we go with the low bidder. I'm not exactly sure how he got the pricing for his trusses. So, ways and means are something that I can't direct the contractor how to do. So we're a little bit at a mercy of that, so, I know my assistant was gonna reach out to him and see what it is, but I will reach out and find out.
Did we give them a deadline for when this needed to be done? I mean, I asked this, just looking at the Outagamie County minutes, they had problems with the contractor that they said, you said it'd be done by this date, it's not done by this date, they started finding them.
And we've talked about that. When we find somebody, you will end up. I have not been in a situation where there was fines that it worked out for us. Because being on the other side, if you're gonna hold me to a certain calendar date, then any little thing that comes up that will affect the schedule will be a delay and disruption. And you will pay for it.
I mean, in the private sector, you're gonna build a car, you're gonna build Berkshir's car dealership or whatever, that if you don't have that done, there's fines, and it doesn't matter if it, in the private sector or whatever, if it doesn't get done, there's gonna be fines levied and it gets done. And if the contractor doesn't get it done, they're gonna do whatever they have to do to get it done. So you're saying that.
Exactly, that's what happens. They do whatever they have to do to get it done, and they cut corners and they use inferior materials. So I'm just telling you from my 40 years of work experience, when there's been fines, it hasn't always worked out well for the owner.
So we don't have a deadline on that building to be done.
The original schedule was the end of December.
And that's written down on paper?
No. But I will tell you that if you have a schedule like that, if you find people, they will find any way to come back with delay and disruption. And I've done that when I was in the private sector.
So Mike, is that the reason why you wouldn't put a date in there, so to speak? I mean, because it sounds like to me that you're gonna shoot yourself in the foot.
Right.
And it's only common sense. Because if you start doing that, then, like you say, you know, you can fine them, but then in the end, we're gonna pay.
You know, because when I worked in the private sector, if I knew that there was a fine, my bid price went up. I will tell you just right off there, my bid price went up because I'm not gonna lose money on the job. And then whenever there's anything, the weather, you can find out what the average weather is. You know, we went from shorts to parkas here in the last few weeks. That would be you know, I would be looking for anything that would be a delay and disruption.
I'm just simply stating that in the fact that if we had people to go into that trailer and said, well, whatever, whenever you get the building done, you get it done, you know, who cares? If you get the levy fines on me, whatever. And then we gotta pay to get to house these people. That's what I'm saying. That seems a little foolish to me. And my experiences have not been that. And if you're building a car dealership, and by gosh, or a hospital, and we use Parkview as that example, and in our instance, if we can't put the people in there because the contractor's not getting it done and we're losing money, how's that fair to the county? Or you're building a car dealership and every day that you're not getting that building done, they're not selling cars and making money. So to just say open-ended, hey, when you get it done, you get it done. I never heard of that, or that hasn't been my experiences around this area and how things work. So that's all.
So the trailer's full now,
It will be, yeah.
okay? So, and if we got another one coming out, how much is it gonna cost us if we don't get these houses ready? 7,000,
1100 a day.
700?
Well, let's put it this way. We've worked with the judge and the judge has delayed a year for us to get it done because we're doing it in good faith.
Sooner or later.
What's that?
He might say to hell with you guys sooner or later, we delayed it a year already.
That'd be 30,000 a month, you know.
Right, yeah.
I'm just asking, I mean.
So all of our homes are being used now, and we have one coming out?
No,
Oh,
the
no,
one coming out is going into the vacancy we have in the trailer.
okay.
I just had one question on the crawl space. Are you going to now a concrete floor with a sump pump? Is that it in the crawl space? You're not gonna put a full basement in there.
No, we're not changing the design of the crawl space.
You're just pouring a floor and putting a
It
sump pump
had a
in.
floor cord.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
You have to dig it out now for a sump pump? Is that it?
yeah, we had to.
No,
No, we had to core through it, is what we did.
you core through the floor.
Yeah.
It'd been nice if the city would have told us that before.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah. This isn't the first time that we've had something like this come up.
Yeah.
You would think the designer would have caught that.
The designer had it drawn as a crawl space and it was approved through the drawing review and site review and everything. When the plumbing inspector who approved the drawings came out and looked at it and said, no, we want a sump pump here.
That's high ground right there though, isn't it?
Yes, and that's what the designer said. There's no water problem here.
Did we have to eat those extra, were there extra costs? Obviously, you needed- and we had to eat that? Because the city told us we had to do that?
Yes, that happens on just about every project.
Great. Anybody else on the 980? Moving on to another gem, the boathouse.
That, Cardinal
I heard anyway.
should have it, they're looking at starting the erection of the metal building next month. So like next week or whatever, they're hoping and to have it done by the end of December.
The work, they got the buildings going up right now.
No, the metal buildings and fabrication with the building supplier.
You said end of December.
That's what they're looking at, yes.
Well, my question is how did this ever get changed in the first place? Because they built the whole thing wrong in the first place. Right?
Yep, they didn't do it in accordance with the design, correct. So that changed the way Cardinal had the building fabricated. So it had to go back to fabrication so that the attachment points to the deck would be right.
Do you have the steel plates and receptacle for the,
That's all
Joist
Cardinal,
done?
yeah.
that's all done now?
No, that's all Cardinal's gonna be doing that. That's all their work.
And did this end up being an extra cost to the county? Because they had to,
No,
we didn't have to redesign any of the building, nothing.
Nope,
no, because John Damo went in and they put it on them at Racky. They put it on Racky and Racky said, yes, they're gonna
get it done for that price.
get it done for the price that we pay, so. Basically,
Those steel receptacles are gonna be.
They screwed up in
painted
the first
steel,
place.
not stainless steel, right?
No, they're gonna be painted.
Okay. All right, moving on to update on current upcoming maintenance projects and update on department budget.
Well, the budget, we're doing okay with the budget. We should be coming in right on target. We've had to readjust some of where we're spending the money because of expenses. But overall, the budget should be, we should be on budget. And then the big projects, we've talked about some of them. The 980, the building assessment, the highway shop, we are just trying to work out how we're going to house the highway staff. Because we're gonna have to gut the whole office area and figure out how we're going to get them out of there. while we're doing the work. So that's,
I'm not blaming you, but wouldn't it have been smarter to try and do this in the summertime?
yeah,
Try to house them in the winter.
yeah. Well, you know, we're hoping to get it out for bid and get the bids in like in January to start soon. And then they'll be outside when it's nicer weather rather than over winter. But solid waste did it over winter. And it's a pain, but that's what ends up happening.
Just reconfiguring some of the offices, and are they gonna have to tear down walls, I'm assuming, on the interior?
We're gonna have to gut the whole thing because of the mold. And then we have to go and we have to fix the exterior walls so that we don't have the free communication of the inside and outside.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna reconfigure the office and put it all back.
And no talks about, I'm assuming this is gonna be a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
I would assume that, and then, you know, that about building a new highway building. I mean, they were gonna put in $500,000 in this building, and that, is that the most economical thing to do?
I don't think the building itself is going to be raised or anything like that. That's not really part of the plan. It's more of going to be putting additions onto the existing building. So I don't think we're gonna undo anything that we are doing now.
Like, cutting it out and removing the mold and doing all that would be cheaper than just tearing the office off and rebuilding it, right?
Probably, yes.
So if you, but my thought is, instead of using that block, you could use concrete tilt up with pre-cut windows and avoid the
But that would
problem.
probably still be about twice the cost.
And then what about that? And you said that truck wash inside wasn't causing a moisture problem that caused the office issue.
No, it's simply because around the office, there was no obstruction from the outside air coming into the inside building.
Does the long-term plan include moving the truck wash out into an addition and clearing out extra space in the
Yeah.
building for parking of the trucks? Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Supervisor.
Um, on the first page, down near the bottom, USDA lease proposal, has that been accepted yet?
They just got the lease back to us last week. I gotta take it down to John Damel, and I've got some questions with them now because of some comments that they made. So
Are they good comments or bad comments?
clarification comments.
Oh,
And when I get the clarification, they may be good or bad. So,
So Mary Ann's got to clarify them, or John Damel?
no, the USDA needs to clarify. Because basically what it locks down to is they want us to sign the lease. But the way they kind of worded it, it's like, well, maybe they can change the configuration after the fact. And it's like, no, because if you change configuration, you're changing my cost, which then is going to change my lease. So
Yeah,
we're not going to sign a lease that then we've leased you this place, now you're going to cost me money.
yeah, because you built those costs into that.
Right. Right. So if they say, well, yeah, that's what happens, then my advice to John would be, we don't sign the lease.
I thought I'm not gonna build out paid for by us, be reimbursed by them in the first year.
Right.
Also on page 3, the UWO, anything taking up on that?
UWO is in a big flux right now. Joanne Reif, who's my counterpart there, is retiring January 9th. I don't know, I did not see from her what their capital projects were. I know I think they got down to admin directly. And I know Outagamie County has some concerns about spending money on the building without commitment that they're there. I know Winnebago County does. I know that they've just reached out to Mike Collard and I to start discussions on the MOU. So, I gotta go back to, I wanna ask Mike, you know, is this including Allegheny County, because there's two of us. And my ideas are, it's not a good idea for the two parties to be in separate negotiations when we're a team. So, you know, if they want to have a meeting with it, then it needs to be convened. My recommendation is between Winnebago County, Allegheny County, and the university. So that should start, I gotta give them some dates on when I'm available, and we'll start talking about that. And I don't know how it's gonna go. I know both counties have some concerns about, you know, for instance, they want to do a capital project with LED lighting, which the counties will pay for doing the work, but then because they pay for the utilities, they recoup all the savings of the utilities. And it's, you know, I don't know, personally, I don't think that's fair, that they're using our dollar to save their money. And there's just some other things that we have some concerns about that, I want to make sure that both sides are on, you know, both counties are on the same agreement. I do know that Allegheny County is holding approval on a lot of their work, pending this MOU.
Yes,
That's huge.
Agreement.
Yeah,
if I could speak, at the last trustee meeting, the chancellor was there, and then a new point man for the facilities oversight was also there. And what they did ask was, they do want to have all the rest of the repairs focused on prior to any discussion on the kitchen project. They wanted to put that on hold themselves. So that was mentioned. And, you know, yeah, basically, just wanted to let you know that the chancellor is taking over, you know, for Margaret. And who he mentioned was irreplaceable, but, you know, he is the successor on the, you know, and he's obviously the decision maker on the MOU, and he's been given that authority by the regents.
Right.
Jim?
One last question, I'll make, the sheriff evidence garage, page 2, right at the top.
We got the bids back, and I need to talk to the county executive about that.
Do we have an entrance into that? Have we got established an entrance way into that?
Into
The
what?
evidence garage? Is this the new evidence garage?
Yes,
Well, we had problems getting it onto
yes,
Jackson
we
Street.
have that all.
Is that been resolved?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic, okay.
So I've got to talk to the county executive on how he wants to address the bid.
So we're coming off of Jackson?
No. We're
No.
coming through solid waste.
yeah,
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah, because that was
All
discussed
right.
before, yeah.
Okay, I remember. hearing.
Because it's a state road, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Highway.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Mike? All right, then moving on to items for the next meeting agenda.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. 12, I guess. That's what I was looking at. We got 9.
Anybody else have any suggestions? I guess making sure that we can try to get Appleton Ice in here. That we had talked about.
12/27?
Yes, the next meeting date and time, December 27th, 2023, right here at 9 a.m. Everybody good with that?
Yes.
All right, with that, I'm gonna take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Are you gonna talk to, Bob Dave, or you want me to call Dave?
I'll talk to Bob.
I'll talk to you.
Okay. And then, did Adam ever talk to you about that evidence garage? I mean, the park's always, our intention was to get that when the sheriff vacates it, because it's on the park's footprint, and like the
No,
workshop.
that's not Parks building, that's our building,
That's your building, I
and
know.
it's used for records retention and for storage.
Okay, well, then I'll talk to Adam to go up the build one, because that was our intention, was to get that building for equipment storage and the workshop that you said. needed to be
He's
tore
never
down.
talked to me about that.
There you go.
Well, Rob,
And you-
maybe I can talk to you about
All
it
in your
here.
calendar.
Nope.
I've got to
We
do it
actually
right
did
away.
a story too.
Yeah.
I've got it where I forgot to put it in.
Well, last month, or this month. was a
And
little
then
confusing.
they just moved in there.
Nobody could make it.
So they
Those
just-
were things-
The sheriff thought I put it in there.
Moved it to
But
today's.
I guess if we're gonna tear down the workshop, then we'll have to basically somewhere build a new.
Good luck, gentlemen, get your signatures. You're going.
Looking in nice place.
Yep, take care, guys. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, they wash the trucks in the winter outside. You know,
Why don't they go over the highway and trucks there?
well, usually it's so busy over there, they won't let you in there. I mean, it's like, they won't even fix our equipment because they don't have any mechanics. You know, I mean, it's like, they were the ones that told the parks to get rid of their mechanics, because we'll take care of your equipment. Well, then they lose their mechanics, and now they won't take care of the
See
parks.
what I'm
equipment again.
putting on here.
We're coming in winter, and we got to put our winter gates on, and they, well, no.
Look at this guy.
Like, what's that? I know, they're watching their own truck.
He's gonna be a pair of Packers
Waste of money. Have you ever had a automatic truck wash?
I like
Where
to do
you
that.
basically drive through it, I think that they would basically bill us for wash
Great week,
at the parks
great
department.
month.
But right now, it's like, they got 35 trucks to wash.
Well, I have one more
Trailers, and, you know, when in between a storm,
Yeah.
they're watching their own stuff, you know. But no, that'd be something then that, because Rob Way was the one that always told me that he wanted to get that.
Tom, you too?
evidence
Merry
garage
Christmas
for
and everything.
the park.
We've got another meeting coming up. Christmas
Yeah.
party
He's
coming
never
up.
brought
Oh,
that.
that's right, we do have a Christmas
Anybody other
party
than
coming
you
up.
guys.
Oh, yeah, we'll see you then.
Are you on yet?
So.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'm going down to give Julie my check right now.
Don't mind.
I know, already paid her.
Okay.
Well, you're